Yo, 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 what is up, everyone? This is your host, Ricky. Welcome to another episode of the Tales of Web3, Season 3. Today we are recording episode 3 with William. I think it's the employee note number 1, right? Also
That's
the
right.
director of
Of
Alliance,
Alliance.
like the hottest trend on crypto Twitter right now. So welcome, William.
Hey, thanks for having me. Nice of you to say.
That's awesome. I think to start, like, we'd love for you to tell us, our audience, a little bit more about yourself and the story of how you joined Alliance 4 years ago, right? As an
Sure.
employee, first employee. That's fun, right?
Yeah. So I'll start at the beginning. So I was studying sciences, and I realized that I didn't have an edge against my peers. They were a little bit better, and I was worried because my mom said I could do whatever I wanted as long as I was the best at it, which is a pretty fucked up thing to say to your kid. But uh, I then, in college took a film class, and I got the best mark in the class. And I realized I had a real passion for cinema. And so I went into film studies. And it took me about 2 months to realize I didn't have an edge there either. The people were watching really boring movies at a really fast rate and writing a lot about them. And I was just like, I can't keep up. But I'm playing a lot more video games than they are. And so I'm going to convince the entire film department to let me do a degree on video games, video game history, video game culture. And this is at McGill in Montreal. And the professors say I'm allowed to do that so long as I tell them why video games aren't just another fad. At the time, the video game industry was pretty small and, much smaller than cinema, which is not the case today. And the thought was that I would need to come up with some kind of philosophical argument for why they were different. And it all boiled down to, in my mind and in my research, around procedurality, around mechanism design.
Procedurality.
Yeah, mechanism design. Video games are like movies, except they create a possibility space for stories. And they let people navigate that possibility space by creating rules and incentives. And so I just started studying ludology, the study of games and the study of rules and the study of mechanisms and game design. And I started writing about that. I wrote about esports. I wrote about feminist critique, Marxist critique, post-colonial critique, every good, humanities focused region of study. But I was always a bit of an outcast. I was always very focused on the math of games. And despite that, I ended up doing a master's and I ended up doing a PhD in game design. And I taught game design during that time and was very focused on basically using mechanism design in games to tell stories. And I got to having a conversation with my cousin Dan, who's the head of research at Paradigm now, which is an investment fund in crypto that you should be aware of. And he basically told me to leave games. In a speakeasy in New York City, he said that the work I was doing in mechanism design would be more useful and probably more lucrative if applied to crypto. And this is in 2017.
Pretty visionary, huh?
Yeah, what a visionary. So I ended up getting Mastering Bitcoin and reading it. And I'm not technical, but I end up having to be technical because everything I don't understand, I go and learn how to do it from the ground up. And that's when I learned that actually, you can get pretty technical pretty fast because it's all a very long, shallow, horizontal knowledge set. And so started going to meetups, figuring out who could talk to me about crypto, learn about crypto with me. I started getting excited about Ethereum. And then I started trading shit coins. I think everybody eventually does that at some point. I can't sleep at night. I'm waking up at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. just to make sure I don't miss a pump or a dump. And it just consumes my life. And I just know I have to work in that industry. So I apply everywhere, and I only get one job as a marketing agent for an accounting firm. This local firm called Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton. Grant Thornton is their larger parent company. Wants to audit crypto companies. It wants to do forensic, financial crypto audit. And that's really risky for an auditor, because if you get it wrong, you blow up your credibility and all the sister firms lose it with it. There's a famous example of this with Arthur Andersen. It was the auditor of Enron, and it biffed it. One office biffed it, and the entire $10 billion company disappeared overnight. And so nobody like Deloitte or KPMG or PricewaterhouseCoopers or Ernst & Young wanted to audit crypto at that time because the risk was too high, even though the profits could be serious. And Grant Thornton said, no, we're going to hire Will, we're going to hire some experts, and we're going to build a practice around crypto audit. And what ended up happening is I got promoted by default over and over again. People would leave the company or get fired from the company. A lot of Bitcoin maxis at the time had no cultural fit with a big box accounting firm, and they were pushed out. And so I ended up managing like the research and design of crypto audit, and became a domain expert, and stopped marketing so much as just like doing the work of auditing crypto. And we had great clients. We audited the Ethereum Foundation, EOS Foundation. We had exchanges around the world. We did a lot of Cayman Island funds. Basically, if you had a regulator,
best client.
Yeah, they were cool. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Basically, if you had a regulator, and that regulator is like, show me your books and make sure you have an audit, and you're like, well, we've got this crypto on the books, well, then it would be us. We were the only ones who could then tell the regulator, hey, the money is there. They own the crypto. That's the right crypto. No one else is cheating you on this crypto, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The problem is there's no real upwards mobility in accounting, and the job doesn't pay very well. And I'm just looking for work somewhere else, even though it's quite interesting. And after about 4 years of doing that audit work, I get called up by Alliance. I had applied through AngelList, and they'd put my application in the trash. But when they were getting desperate, they started looking through the trash, and they saw that I had a connection to Dan. In my cover letter, I told them my story about how Dan inspired me. And they basically said to themselves, well, at worst case, we get a connection to Dan through Will. So they gave me an interview, but I interviewed relatively well, as you could imagine. I tend to be a charismatic and clever speaker.
You are?
And I told them, yeah, thanks. I told them how I saw crypto, which a pretty weird take on crypto at the time. I was really into Lovecraftian horror. So like H.P. Lovecraft is writing in the 1920s about cultists in New England summoning like horrible demons that end up like swallowing up the entire earth. And I think of crypto a lot like that. It's just
That's
like
scary. That's pretty scary.
So I think of like these programmers as like these cultists who are like building this code with this really esoteric math, reading deep in these books of like long forgotten knowledge, because Bitcoin's knowledge was really old. Like you could have built Bitcoin 25 years earlier. And basically putting together incentives in order to produce something self-sustaining and that can grow. And that Bitcoin is a lot like this elder god. It's this thing that demands that you feed it energy and in exchange rewards you. And if you don't,
Damn.
and it just keeps growing and taking over the planet, despite like no central office, right? No central planning. It's a creature we summoned. I really like that view, and I wanted to find out if there were others.
How did you come up with that view? Like it just pops up, or like how? So
when I was studying at the PhD, I was doing a lot of work on science and technology studies. It's the study of everyday things and how they affect culture. So the way seatbelts change society, the way automatic door closers change societies. And you start thinking about objects as people. You start thinking about objects as agents with their own will. And you start thinking about science as something that's not just like a pyramid of people standing on the shoulders of giants, but as something with politics and where the materials have a lot of impact. Anyway, so I started thinking about protocols and procedures that way. And there aren't many procedures that feel alive to me, right? That like demand supplication from their cultists.
Bitcoin is definitely one of them.
For sure. That's crazy, right? It's like it's like discovering nuclear fusion. You can't put it back in the box. Once it's out, everybody knows about it, and it just keeps changing our reality.
Yes.
So they let me in to Alliance. They asked me to basically build a program, a curriculum for the accelerator. Because of my academic background, because I've done a lot of teaching, the thought was that I could come up with a structure for people to basically have a clear path when they came in. And at the time, our cohorts were 6 weeks long. We were doing 4 a year, and it was really intense. And we didn't have that many applicants either. Maybe we would get 200 applications for 20 spots, taking the top
Early
10%.
days are hard, That's why you guys hustled pretty hard, right? Giving like
we did, and it was hard to get investments back then too. Like even if people came into the program, they're like, "Yeah, we don't want your money. We're like we have plenty of money. It's the bull market," and so we're like, "Okay, well, look, we need to get noticed, so we'll work for free, and then hopefully you'll change your mind." And it worked pretty well. We ended up growing and hiring and building a really great program that evolved every cohort. So I joined in cohort 4. We're now on cohort 14. 10 cohorts later, our program looks nothing like it used to. It's in person now. It's 12 weeks long. We can only do 2 a year. We have 2,000 applicants for the 20 spots instead of 20. So we're doing top 1%, which is a world of difference.
That's awesome.
We interview people so much longer than we used to, like just to make sure that we're not letting any bad apples. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
In terms of those interviews, like what are the one key characteristic that you see in founders?
Oh, it's weird. There's like a disjoint. It's like a disjoint definition. So there's this weird kind of definition in philosophy, which is where there's like a grocery list of characteristics, and different subsets are sufficient, but no single line is necessary. And I think founders are a lot like that. Art, it's the definition for art is actually a lot like that. There's no like single definition of art. You need to like have the subsets from a larger superset. And so we look for founders who have the heat.
The heat.
People who have intensity and who are serious. And sometimes that heat comes off as like a shark, a sort of very aggressive
predator.
Yeah. And then they're also, and more common, what we call the humble founder, who's just there to ship and learn, and who knows they don't know everything, and is not afraid to show weakness, and is just ready to outwork people. And both those kinds of founders have worked reasonably well for Alliance. I think the sharks do really well up front, and the slow burn, humble founders get a very long-term return. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a really interesting way of putting it. So you've been joining Alliance for almost 4 years now, right? Like there's all these different kinds of like role obviously you've been taking. Fundraising, like you've been doing mentorship, like setting up the curriculums and all these kind of stuff. Like which one is your favorite? And which one you think you're the best at?
So my least favorite was research, which is annoying because theoretically I should have been good at that with research training and writing. I was so over it after doing it for like 10 years. And it's a lonely process. My favorite part of the job is meeting new people. So whether it's meeting new founders coming in, meeting potential founders at conferences, meeting potential investors into our fund, the sort of box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. Exploration of other experts in the field is amazing. And because Alliance has a pretty good reputation now, I have access to just these amazing people. Every one of the founders in the cohort, you could, talk to for hours to figure out what their stories and what they've learned and what they can teach you and what you can teach them. So yeah, the real social part, I think, is what I like most, and the knowledge transfer that comes through that process.
That's awesome. I think Alliance right now, you guys are definitely at probably the best times. If there's and like
Yeah.
what is the feeling right now? Like I know it definitely like journey takes you guys a long time, right? Lately, you started to see these apps started to take into the center of the attention, right? After Pump Up Fun, right? These like social apps on Solana, like they started to take off. Cloud.me, Victor.fun, and like Tribe.run, all these. Like, what is the feeling right now? What's your plan? What's the plan of Lions continue going forward?
Yeah. So I think the feeling is disbelief. It's just we're not really letting it sink in. We've been sort of in wartime mode ever since the last bear market, where it's just like, look, we have to work hard and every day to make sure we don't lose. And right now, we feel like we've won our first mini boss, which was be the best crypto accelerator.
Yes.
We had a lot of competitors, and a lot of competitors with a lot of money and a lot of experience. Outlier, Long Hash, A16Z's Crypto Startup School, Encode,
Orange DAO.
Orange DAO, and all of these were a reasonable threat to just dominating the space. And they can still like get great teams. Don't get me wrong. It's just we feel now that it's clear that that's our position to lose, and that doesn't mean that we get to rest. It just means we get to pick a bigger fight with a bigger opponent, right?
Who's the next opponent? Like your
Oh,
biggest threat? I mean,
oh,
if you can talk about that, right?
no, I don't want to upset them. So I don't want them to know that we're coming for them.
Yeah.
Um, but the idea is to grow bigger, and it's hard to grow bigger as an accelerator because there's only so much mentorship and only so much opportunity in the space
Yes,
to invest in.
100%.
Y Combinator tried to grow to massive batches and then realized they had to undo that. Y Combinator also built a continuation fund to write even bigger checks later on, and that produced a lot of unintended consequences that they weren't excited about. And so, in the end, it's not clear how we grow from here, other than just by doing a better and better job and converting more and more teams to reaching that unicorn status.
Got it.
Because we're a small fund, we don't get to live off of our management fees in the way that these $1 billion crypto funds can basically have no success for years and still make $200 million.
I feel you. I totally feel you. You guys
Yeah.
have like what, like first round is like 2 million, second is 10 million. You're releasing another one, right?
Yeah, so our funds were 15, 25, and now hoping to hit 65.
Awesome.
We're fundraising now, but I'm not allowed to advertise that.
I
So
see.
like,
I see.
no one take this as I'm looking for your money, because whoever replaces Gary would be mad at me.
I feel you. What do you think? So from what I learned or from my observation, right? I think one of the things that make you guys really took off, right, being the special or the best crypto accelerator, is your extreme focus on the founders, right? That's probably the first thing. The second is you look for the best founders and you're really dedicated in helping them define product market fit, which is like, I think it's probably the hardest problem to tackle in Web3, right? A lot of people they try to ship a product, try to grow their community without a like product market fit, but eventually the result turns out not that great. But like, is there anything else, like just reflecting on this entire journey, what are some of the other reasons that might have made you guys took you guys where you are today?
So I think there are a lot of reasons. There's, for instance, Jacob, one of the less public founders at Alliance, is an incredible operations machine. He makes sure contracts, paperwork, lawyers, legal, company formation, HR, that moves so smoothly, and it's the most painful and boring work I could ever imagine doing.
Same,
And yet,
dude. Same. Oh my god.
but he does it like every day so hard, and he lets everyone else just have so much more fun because he takes on all this painful work. And so, like, there are these unsung heroes. And at the end of the day, it's really about a collection of individuals who are very good at what they do, working very hard. I think Chow, before joining Alliance, his job was hiring engineers at Masari. He interviewed hundreds and hundreds of engineers at Masari. And he got to learn what makes a great engineer from an interview. And a lot of what makes a great founder is what makes a great engineer. And so I think that experience, plus his own background thinking about markets and macro, if it weren't for his talent and knowledge, I think we would be in a horrible place. And I've given up my 30s to these people in order to make sure that, because I believe that they're going to take us to success. And then, Imran, incredible, made these wild decisions as this sort of CEO visionary, had us go down paths that were super dangerous, that were not our core focus, that ought to have killed normally a normal person. But he really saw where the puck was going at some very specific moments in our history. And had he not decided to do these absolutely bonkers things, we would not be where we are today. And
are you allowed to share one of these moments?
Becoming a DAO was one of them. Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell us more.
Well, Alliance raised as a DAO in 2021, and that was a really intense time, and it brought us a lot of attention and a lot of allies. And a lot of people just became aligned with Alliance and its success. And the promise of a DAO also created a moral innovation. I'm a really big fan of Balaji's book, The Network State. The second half. The first half is a little crazy. The first half, where it's about, the Chinese Communist Party versus the New York Times versus Bitcoin, I could take it or leave it. But the second half, where he talks about the 8 things a startup society needs, including a census and civil discourse and an online platform and a token and a blockchain and a recognizable founder. I kept hounding Chow and Imran, like, we're missing this piece. You guys have to be front and center every day. But then also, you need to have this moral innovation. You need a reason for why people would join your society. And Alliances is really simple. It's founders ought to help founders. And it doesn't sound like much of an innovation. It sounds like a nice thing. But the general rule of thumb is founders ought to be 100% focused on their own company.
Yes.
There's so many things. Early days. Like every minute on your company is very important. To be split focus on secondary companies, or trying to figure out your family, or your healthcare, like nothing can get in the way. And if it does, it's just so hard because there's some other founder out there who's giving it 120%. And so, how do you convince a founder to take an hour out of their day to help another founder? And then when you think, okay, if 2 great founders give each other 1 hour, clearly that's going to be bigger impact than if they just worked on their own startups. Because I know which lawyers to hire in Cayman, maybe, and maybe which marketing team to target Japan with. And these kinds of information are so not widely available. And what's ended up happening at Alliance, because of this, DAO approach and this idea of building a network state, is that we've captured the imagination of founders, and now they're aggressively and actively helping each other every day. We have like 70 daily active users in our forum, from just founders checking in and seeing what's going on.
Only the portfolio company founders are allowed to join, or every founder?
Even less than our portfolio, only the ones that have gone through our accelerator.
I see.
And so, when we started the forums, we were lucky to get 5 people to show up every day. And it's just been a slow, continuous growth as more cohorts come in, as we, Alliance pill more and more people. And it doesn't sound like a lot, 70 founders a day, but out of the 400 that are alumni, and, that's just the daily number, we're getting an incredible amount of activity.
That's great traction.
yeah, I'm super happy. And these, we're not trying to do a mass market retail play here. We're looking at the top 1% of the people building in crypto. So there's not a lot of people to chase after. So yeah, that DAO decision was a really big one. Another decision was to not give up on Solana.
That's a
So
pretty bold move.
after FTX, I was sure Solana was dead. I was like, this is another EOS zombie chain. I'm sure it'll collapse under its own weight. But Chow and Imran were certain that Alliance still had a great chance of succeeding. And that decision and the wider decision to be multi-chain, I think, was a big move on Imran's part. Rather than try and go with Dan's strategy, which is be a cool kid in the Ethereum insider club, and to get all the best deals by having the best reputation inside the ETH community, we almost like exiled ourselves and said, look, we're not going to buy into ETH maximalism or even ETH minimalism. We're going to say every chain has a shot. Every founder has a shot. And today, we still are excited about a variety of chains, but we're always more excited about the founders. And so, like, if the founder's building on some horrible chain we've never heard of, we'll welcome them in. We'll work with them. We'll try to understand why they're working on this horrible chain we've never heard of. Maybe they'll change their mind when we explore the other chains with them. Maybe not. And that's another good part of us, I think.
Besides Ethereum base and Solana, which are some of the other chains you've been seeing founders building on? And what are some of the good reasons why they're bullish?
So it's seasonal. For instance, last year we worked closely with Blast. There was and we had a lot of great teams build on Blast. Wasabi, Pump.
Wasabi is good. Wasabi is pretty good.
We like them. They're amazing. Wasabi, Pump, and Fantasy. They'd all launched on Blast, and
I'm one of the very first few players of Fantasy Top. I mean, I
lost
money, but it's a pretty cool game.
I'm sad you lost money. But yeah, I mean, I was one of the cards in the beta.
No,
but
I always buy the pack. That's why I think I lost. I just buy sometimes like a bad luck, sometimes a good. But overall, I think my lucks are not that great.
Okay, you're a degenerate gambler. I see. That's good. Well, I'll tell them to give you a refund. Yeah, so Blast had done something really interesting and innovative around go-to-market and with Blast Gold, and it had this amazing opportunity to attract a lot of attention and a lot of eyeballs. And we were excited for founders building in consumer to go there because so many users were there. I think we don't need to talk about what happens after, but just to say, like, we saw a real reason for people to be building there. And there's any number of possible chains that could repeat that kind of success, like Barachain, for instance, when the time comes, or Monad or Mega ETH. I don't know. Like, honestly, these things change all the time. Last cohort, we had 2 teams on Starknet. With Starknet recently hitting 500 to 1,000.
Big on gaming too. Like fully on-chain game. They've been exploring that like for a long time now.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a fully on-chain gaming person for a long time. I was a winner of a couple rounds of Dark Forest, and
I played that. But dude, that game is hard and it's complicated. Like,
it's very hard, very complicated.
Few hours, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh yeah,
oh my god,
brutal game. So then we worked with a team called Primodium, and we built fully on-chain games with them, and then we worked with Force Prime, which is on Starknet. We really love those founders. But the fully on-chain gaming space, although I've given my last 2.5 years of my life to like studying and learning about it, I think it's still too early. I think there's too much opportunity in crypto right now for great founders to chase outside of fully on-chain games. Unfortunately, I really wish it wasn't the case, because then I'd be worth a lot more money.
Dude,
but alas,
I'm pretty big on gaming too. I've been playing like Clash Royale, like a lot of these games.
I mean, so. I think gaming is an exciting space, but you have this problem, which is Gaming has about 10%, no, 1%
of
of the
the oh,
TAM.
I feel you. I saw you share that before.
Yeah.
Everything in crypto, it's gotta be like the fi part. You know what I mean? No matter the social fi, gamify, like it's just gotta be majority of stake to be the fi part.
And yeah, so just gaming is too small. I mean, for the number of founders who want to build there, right? Like if 20% of your founders want to chase 1% of the TAM, something's wrong, right?
Yeah. But why is that? Sometimes I'm just curious because people play games, right? Is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because like the games in crypto is just not fun enough,
No,
or
no, but even games generally, games is a $200 billion business. Finance is a $200 trillion business. Like,
so it's not about crypto? It's just about gaming itself.
yeah, gaming is just not important enough compared to finance, and crypto is here to revolutionize finance. So, maybe you can revolutionize finance in games, but the thing is, crypto can't make games better.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
agree with that. I agree with that.
games are built on Turing complete machines. If there's any experience or aesthetic you want, you can just rebuild it in Web 2. Like, there's no magic there. Crypto could make building games different. It could make experience, that could be cool. Give devs money.
like a decentralized engine or something like that.
Yeah, or decentralized studio where
Yes.
people work on an open source code base. I mean, look, there's all kinds of ways decentralization might be relevant, but the things that people have said in the past, like players really want to own their own items. Not in my experience. Like,
same for their own data, even. You know what I mean?
They don't want their own data, exactly. Yeah. Or players are really worried that the game company is gonna like rug them. Not really, man. Like, in fact, they're worried that the game company won't update the patch notes and the game will get stale with old meta. That's way worse. So I'm excited to see games take off again, but it'll take some time. And the other weird piece is that a great game today, like Marvel Snap, which came out last year, had very good success. It's got this problem, which is that it takes 4 years to build. It was designed in 2 days, prototype out in a couple months, but monetization done in 3 more years. Like, the timeline that games have is so long. Like, in 4 years, what's crypto going to look like? We have no idea. It's like you're trying to build a skyscraper on top of quicksand. Like, by the time you're done, the whole foundation's destroyed and you have to restart anyway. So it just feels wrong.
Timing. There's a better timing in the future where crypto gaming is going to be cool. You know what I mean? But not now, not this cycle.
So we have a cool company in the last cohort, many cohorts ago, called Modio. And they rebranded recently to indie.fun. And it's really cool. They've been building for 5 years this like low code engine that lets people produce mods, not unlike Roblox, very fun 3D games, really quick, and combine that with tokens and help fundraise their game design with tokens. And overnight after launching, 6 games got fully funded to be built. And
nice.
Yeah, I think indie games make a lot more sense for crypto because of the development cycle. And I think platforms like itch.io, which are really popular and quite cool, can be disrupted by crypto rails, and they themselves would never include crypto because they absolutely are morally opposed to it.
I feel you. Let's talk about SocialFi.
Sure.
It happened that like lately there are these AllianceDAO companies, right, that are started to take off, starting with Cloud.me, and then like Tribe.run, and these are all, I would say, new social fi apps after FriendTech that are likely to bring another attention to SocialFi right now. This time on Solana. Like, what is your take on that?
So
why you're bullishing?
So we started playing around with FriendTech right at the beginning in August of last year, I guess, or August the year before last year, because now we're in 2025. And we always believed that FriendTech would be successful. And we even got Caviar, when they wanted to pivot, to start building a product on top of FriendTech. Now, that didn't end up working. FriendTech ended up sort of closing down, and Caviar, eventually became Pump.fun.
Let's
And
go.
so they had their, but they had to learn by building on top of Frentech.
I
And
think there are
Frentech,
still definitely part of PopTap Fund that is learned from, originated from
the
French.
bonding curve for
Yes.
sure, the social elements for sure. And, I think that we've been very attuned, particularly Imran, who's been really in the SocialFi space. And the SocialFi space was also just an evolution of the NFT community space, right? NFTs were a version of SocialFi
Yes.
where it was a Discord and a collection of 10,000 PFPs. You know, it's been an ever growing and evolving process. And I think clout is exciting, but it's so new. We don't know where it's going, and I'm excited to follow along and help them build. And we also have, as you mentioned, Tribe.run, but there's quite a few um, in the recent cohorts, and even you see things like Tensor's new product, Vector.
Vector, that fun.
Yeah, so these are all in a similar vein, and some have even left already. Primodium ended up building Tub, and Tub has decided, I think, not to go forward with that. So there's a lot of experiments. We've got a lot of insider knowledge now, and a lot of knowledge sharing internally at Alliance around this, and I think that we've also become like the signal, for better or for worse, around these things. So I don't know if you remember, backed by Paradigm was this
Yes.
meme from maybe 18 months ago,
I
where
saw that. I
basically,
saw that.
yeah, basically if Paradigm invested in you, that meant your token was going to moon, and you should buy it right away. And that's because it had been right, and it became a self-fulfilling prophecy where better teams would want to get funding from Paradigm because when they launched, their token would do better. And I think that we're benefiting from a similar phenomenon where people have noticed that we've had
Backed by Alliance, though.
yeah, we've had a few successes, and that the success produces success because we have to have more richer learnings as mentors, and we can teach better. But we also have more people applying and can select stronger teams from that cohort.
Got it. Going back to the SocialFi topic, what do you think is the hardest thing that all these teams are trying to tackle? Like, what do you think is the one thing that they need to solve, or few things, before, so that they don't end up like another Fintech?
Yeah, I mean, everything is sort of unknown in this space, and you need to create a few things, I think. One, you need to give people a single player experience.
Single player experience.
So, something I learned about LinkedIn a long time ago was that 40% of its traffic was just people looking at their own profile.
Wait,
And
what?
you sort of go to LinkedIn and you see this mirror of yourself. It's like, what are my accomplishments? Let me prune
Actually,
this.
yes. I'm trying to recall. I think I did that yesterday, or I definitely did that before.
It's like your garden. You maintain it, you sort of update it, you make it look good. It's a reflection of who you are, right? It's a shrine to your career. And you look at different social media platforms, and they have their own sort of single player experiences where they don't really need to have friends there or know anyone there for them to be useful. And if you can do that, then you can get retention when you're not doing so well on your, network effects. So I think that's an important piece. Figure out your single player experience. And then the second piece, when it comes to consumer social, is to get people a sense of edge.
Edge.
So I think of crypto retail, not all of crypto, just entertainment retail crypto, as having been a similar game evolving over the last 10 years. It starts with, do I buy Bitcoin, or do I buy Dash, or do I buy ETH, or do I buy Litecoin? Okay, I'm going to read their white papers. I'm going to learn about their teams, do my own research. When I pick my coin, I'm going to go mine it. I'm going to collect some of it. I'm going to sell in the future when the price goes up. And I'm going to choose the thing I want to mine based on which one I think is most undervalued, And then Coinbase comes out with more than just like Bitcoin buys. You can buy new assets like Ethereum or Litecoin. And now I don't have to mine it anymore. So that's great. We've created less friction. But I have to wait for it to list things. And it listed Ethereum, for instance, 6 months late. And then I lose my sense of edge. So Ethereum ICO happens the year after, and Ethereum says, look, you can buy coins the minute they're live. Your sense of edge is returned. You'll front run all of Coinbase's users and all of Binance's users. Sense of edge. But then, things get pretty technical, and you're still diligencing all this really hard tech and all these white papers. And you have this thing come out with NFT summer. And here, no longer do I have to read a white paper. I can just look at some art and decide which art I think is nicest, which one's going to capture community attention. I still have to do diligence on, the team and the community, but no longer do I have to do any math, really. And then things move on, and you get SocialFi with FriendTech. And now, we're on Base, so that's a lot of friction removed from Ethereum. But not just that, I get to benefit from not having to diligence a whole team, just one person. And they're fully public. They're docs and everything, Fantastic. So even less work to get a sense of edge. And there are people who are already addicted to crypto Twitter, and they already believe they have a sense of edge, that they know which influencers to pick. But then...
Which one is the gem?
Exactly. Which one's the hidden gem? Are you going to be early? Are you going to know something? And then Pump.Fun comes out, and we realize that, okay, you don't need to know who the team is. You don't need to have a white paper. You don't need to know the community. What makes you laugh, right? Let's get you. And do you believe that you know what makes you laugh better? Or you can find sense of edge in all these different ways. And so I think for this latest batch with Abura and Clout, they're going to want to give people a sense that they're getting in on the ground floor, that they're getting in early, or that they know that they're before other people realize the value of this person. Right?
I think first mover need to be something deep in their mind. That's why they want to act quick.
Yeah, they need to feel like they're making a good decision.
Yes,
and I think that plus it has to be easy. Right, the friction of previous crypto, if we're going to grow and get more than just these basic users, going to need to keep improving. And so a lot of this move to mobile apps, right, on the App Store, with Moonshot, solving a lot of Pump.Fun's friction. This is where I also see the SocialFi going. So less friction, more edge, and giving retail a sense that they're having fun.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Where do you think Alliance, or where do you envision Alliance going to be at in the next 2 to 3 years? What do you think is the North Star that is guiding the team right now toward that?
So at the end of every cohort, we ask our founders whether they would refer us to other founders. So 9 or 10, you'll refer us to other founders. 7 or 8, you like the program, but you wouldn't go out of your way to refer. And 0 to 6, negative referral. You tell someone not to come, basically. And this is called, you take an average and you get what's called a net promoter score.
So you get 100% yes?
Yeah, so it's not, so the way it works is you get 1 point for 9, 10, 0 points for 8, 7, and -1. And so we get something between 85 and 95%. And we generally just work, so close to 100% of founders will tell other people to apply to Alliance and do the program. And that's been our North Star for the past 10 cohorts. It's just making sure when people leave that they had a great time and they're ready to tell everyone else they had a great time. So I think we stick to that. Sometimes we're doing too well. It's 95. Okay, well, we can't improve. So let's figure out some other thing we can do, right? Let's grow our influence. Let's launch Sprint or MVP Hackathon, and serve more people, or let's return focus to the DAO and make sure that keeps growing and getting built up. These kinds of things. I think in 3 years, I'd like to see us go from startup society to networked archipelago. So
Tell me more. Networked archipelago.
archipelago, yeah.
Archipelago.
So there's these 3 phases for a network state that Balaji brings up, right? You start as a startup society. You're basically like a Discord, a fully online community. And then eventually you crowdfund to buy land. And once you own enough land, then you petition the state for recognition and sovereignty. But before we get there, we don't need to become a full country anytime soon. But in 2 to 3 years, I suspect we will own some office space. Not just rent it. We will start having places in the world that are alliance places where founders can go and work with each other and learn, and that will be one step towards building this utopian vision of a society of founders who help founders.
Love that vision. So you guys right now are only renting places right now?
We have offices in Soho, and we fly our team, or our teams fly in to come work in our Soho offices. Yeah,
that's still awesome.
Soho's a pretty expensive place to buy.
Soho in terms of New York City, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's where I'm at right now. Literally, I'm at a WeWork.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's where that's the new Sand Hill Road of crypto is Soho.
Let's go.
You got everybody there. You got A16Z, you got Paradigm, you got Dragonfly, you've got Multicoin, you got us. Yeah, everything's happening in New York. That's the future of crypto.
Let's talk about product market fit, because I know you guys are extremely dedicated in helping founders, their projects, their companies finding the right product market fit before introducing it to anyone, before they kick off fundraising, before anything. Like, why do you think product market fit, or the entire team think is the most important thing? And what are some of the good tactics that you guys have been trying out to help the founders to find the right product market fit for their company?
Got it. Well, I think it's product market fit is about creating value. Did you build something somebody wants? And if you create value, then you can charge for it, and then you can make money. So without product market fit, you don't have a company. You don't have anything. And it's just easy to lose focus of, because it's the hardest thing to do. Some people enter like this zombie mode where they just want to build a company and not build something people want. And so they hire, and they build HR policies, and they get offices, and they hire, and they come up with some middle management, and they just keep growing a company using the budget they raise from their investors, but they never actually build something people want. They're addicted to operating a corporation, and we're really opposed to that. Often when people join Alliance, we do an audit of their team, and we tell them, you've got too many people pre-product market fit. It's too hard to discover something people want when you're really big.
Small team.
And
you need to make moves, shift fast.
Yeah, you need to, we didn't invent how to find product market fit. I think Y Combinator has done an amazing job teaching the world about product market fit and how to find it, from talking to your users to relentlessly shipping and testing. This is the only way to do it, right? And you look at a team like Tribe.Run, which joined last cohort and couldn't find product market fit, pivoted, kept asking us for ideas, kept trying new things, kept talking to users, kept learning from users. And although they weren't finding success, we were extremely bullish, that team, because we knew that that's the kind of behavior that leads to product market fit. It's this mindset of, I will keep shipping new products and keep talking to users until they tell me something that makes sense and I can build for that. And it's the same with Pump, right? Pump just kept pivoting, kept talking to users, kept learning problems, and then found this one big problem around launching meme coins being too expensive, and then solved it with a bonding curve. And so the sense here is that when you're at Alliance, our focus on mentors is on helping you find product market fit, which was quite different from the other accelerators in the past, who focused on tokenomics or teaching you Yeah.
Let me cut into it. What do you think about what do you think about the sentence "your token is your product"? Personally, I think that's a little bit toxic. But like, what is it?
So there might have been a time when your token was your product made sense, like to fundraise, to get community excitement. But and for some companies, even today, your token might be your product. But we certainly don't treat companies that way, and we certainly don't talk to them that way. We, for a long time, and it's less the problem now, teams would ask us for tokenomics advice. They'd try to get us to write their token white paper. For a long time, it felt like DeFi was a lot of like designing these Rube Goldbergian machines. You said these complicated ways of moving, restaking, destaking, locking up and unlocking and yielding and re-yielding and leveraging, yielding money. So much so that you didn't know what the was going on. And you're just like, everyone else is doing it. Let's YOLO into some 3-3, baby. And
I love that.
and that's not the case anymore. And there have also been other accelerators who have depended on teams launching tokens and them selling their token shares. And we never were in that position. We always had the setup such that we could be patient with the success of our teams. They didn't need to be successful this cycle or the next cycle. They could be successful, maybe the next cycle. Okay, so like in 5 years or something. We don't need them to be successful tomorrow. And
that's a pretty long time, though.
Yeah, but as a venture fund, that's pretty short, right? Like look at Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the fastest companies to IPO, right? They did it in 10 years, right? The investors in Coinbase had a very early exit by that metric. But in crypto, everybody's sort of spoiled by like 1 year, 2 year exits. That's absurd.
It's too accelerated.
If it takes 4 years to make a video game, it's going to take way longer than that to reimagine the future of France. So you're going to really, really need to adjust your time frame.
That's some of the great takes. Yeah, I think we are almost heading to the end of this episode. But there's one question that I always ask my guest, right? Which is I let them to share one of their stories in crypto, in Web3 that they really rarely shared elsewhere before. It can be about risk taking, it can be about full of unexpected twist, randomness, or even something silly, right? But I want this to be something that you did and only you can do that made you who you are today. So
okay, it's 2021. I've been at Alliance for 6 months. We've recently redone our website. And a competing accelerator launches an exact copy of our website.
Holy shit, that's not cool.
And it's not cool. And they put a bunch of partners up and a bunch of past companies they've accelerated. And I just called them up because I have connections to them. Like the companies they accelerated. I was like, so how was their accelerator program? I'm running my own. I'm trying to figure out like, oh, we never did an accelerator program with them. That's totally made up. And I was like, oh my God, their whole website's fake. This is so annoying and painful. I can't believe that my competition is just lying through their teeth about this. But that wasn't actually the thing that bothered me. And then like a month later, a new company applies to Alliance. No, it doesn't apply to Alliance. Starts getting traction in public. And I go to their website and they've also copied our website. But they're not even an accelerator. They just like copied everything. They even have our art.
Like you guys have too good design. You know what I mean?
It was okay. It wasn't even that good. I guess the bar was really low back then. And anyway, I started shit talking them in our Discord and being like, I can't believe these guys. What a scam. Ugh, and it's out of it feels like they're just grifters. Anyway, it turned out they apply to Alliance.
What?
They apply to Alliance, and while they have the exact same website that they've stolen from us.
Damn.
And we interview them, and Chow lets them in.
Why?
Yeah, he lets them in.
Is it because?
He likes the team. He's got a good recommendation. In fact, he likes them so much he commits capital on the first call to make sure we don't lose our spot. And when they do join, I end up talking to them about the website and asking them, could they please build an original website? Gosh darn it. They end up putting my face on their new website as one of their mentors. And they have great success. The company is called Steppen. It's a move to earn game.
No, I'm one of the very few players of Steppen back in the days. I've been running in.
There you go. So we were using Steppen every day. We were running from conference venue to conference venue, getting our steps in, and we had amazing cohort members that were all early buyers of Steppen shoes. Really helped kickstart their experience. And I was a core mentor of Steppen's for a long time, and I can't believe how bad a first impression they made, and yet how totally fine it ended up being.
Dude, I cannot believe that's something that's Steppen dude, they are literally, I think, one of the key reasons why the entire Move tour and X tour and stuff kicks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one of the key reasons Solana had so much success, they were one of the first viral apps on Solana.
Yes, that's awesome. But glad you guys didn't miss that, because of the website.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's again one of these things where I would have said no and Chao said yes and Chao was right and therefore I'm richer, and so now I don't even make my own decisions.
No, you made a lot of great decisions too, man. I learned a ton from you, and I believe our audience will be too when they heard about this episode.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, the last question before we go is just I wanted to give you the stage to show about anything Alliance. How can people support? How can founders apply? What should they do? And the stage is yours.
Sure. So, look, we're always looking for great founders. We want them to apply to us through Alliance.xyz. The website has been designed and A/B tested for millennia to make sure that you get all the information you need and the smoothest transition from being a founder who hasn't applied to a founder who has applied. And you should definitely do it. There is no too early. There is no too late. We are very aggressive in reviewing applications, and we'll get back to you quickly. We really bet on founders more than ideas. So it doesn't matter what you're building. What matters is that you're able to articulate an intelligent thing to build. You could change your mind later. Basically, your company idea is just another data point about who you are as a person. And so we're excited to back people who've overcome hardships, who've been in less privileged places, and also people who've been in very privileged places and who've seen incredible things and have amazing connections. There's amazing founders everywhere. And we're also regionally very open. So 1/5 of Alliance comes from the West Coast, 1/5 from the East Coast, 1/5 from Europe, 1/5 from India, 1/5 from the rest of the world.
That's pretty diverse, huh?
Yeah, we got it all. We got it all. So we'd really like to work with you, and please apply.
And I think there's still 2 weeks before the early bird of all 15 ends, right?
That's right.
You should really all hurry up to apply. And personally, I've been scrolling and playing around the website. I fucking love it. Very smooth.
Yeah, and you can apply early, and then if you don't get in, apply for the late deadline too.
Let's go. All the founders out there who've been tuning in, you should apply. And thanks again, William, for hopping on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.